right, good evening. Back in October, there was a presentation before the American Academy of Pediatrics National Conference. And that presentation was based upon data from Brevard County. It was collected after BPS voted to require heart screenings for our athletes. I will tell you, I was told that every cardiologist in the nation received a copy of that presentation and the work that's been happening in Brevard Public Schools. This evening, there are three people here with us this evening. Dr. Dadlani, thank you, the Chief of Pediatric Cardiology for Nemours. We've heard his name a lot in a lot of presentations. Him and his team are the ones that evaluate the ECGs for us, for Brevard Public Schools and their athletes. Also, Kurt Easton. I saw Kurt. Where's Kurt? Kurt's there. He's the former chairman for Who We Play For, and was a driving force on getting this through and getting this as part of what BPS does for our student athletes. And also, I wanted to just give a shout out to Xavier Hendricks. Xavier's back in the back. Xavier is currently a student at Southeastern University. He is a former BHS grad. I'm happy to say he was a BHS grad when I was principal there. And he has had an experience with I'm going to say it all wrong, so I'm not going to say it. But he's lived the personal experience of what this board has put into place, and I know that he has attested before you already. So, without further ado, Dr. Dadlani.
Well, thank you to all the board members for the opportunity to speak here tonight. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. I know throughout the year, as you vote on policies and procedures, a lot of thought has to go into all the lives of the 65,000 plus students that you are voting on policies and procedures for. I want to just compliment you on voting for the heart screening, because I think it really serves to your mission to serve every student with excellence as the standard. I think you really set the standard not only here in Brevard County, but really across the country, and I hope in the next 5 minutes to share that data with you for that. And I'll take any questions at the end of the 5-minute presentation here. So the presentation that we gave at the American Academy of Pediatrics, which is the largest pediatric meeting in the United States and also has attendees from all around the world, was the feasibility of providing EKG screening to high school sports participants here in Central Florida, and most importantly here in Brevard County. So there was no disclosures for that, and I wanted to thank all the board members that supported this initiative and really to look out for the protection and safety of all the 65,000 students in the district. And if you've turned on the news in the last week, you may have seen this. Let's see if we can get it to play here. Oh, had it playing here a second ago. Sorry, we had it playing before. But it's a video of the basketball player at the University of Florida. If you turn on the news, he was playing in a basketball game against Florida State and collapsed on the floor. And that tragedy happens not only in the state of Florida, but all around the country. And it's happened here in Brevard County as well, within your own school district. So this all started when Rafe Macaron passed away during a soccer match back in 2007. And I didn't have the luxury of getting to meet Rafe prior to that event, but many of the members of Who We Play For that are here today that started this initiative after Rafe's death within the Brevard County Public School District at that time really have saved other lives within your school district, and I wanted to compliment all of them on their fantastic initiatives and all the time spent on this cause. But sudden cardiac death is the leading cause of young athletes in the United States and around the world. In the United States, there's over 8 million student athletes, and about 1 in 40,000 will have a sudden cardiac arrest. And 1 in 300 are walking around with a potential cardiovascular issue, whether that's genetic or acquired with that. So being able to detect that prior to that event of sudden cardiac arrest is vitally important. The initiatives that you've also put in place to have defibrillators available and CPR training for your schools is also fantastic to be able to help those students that do have a sudden cardiac arrest. But the EKG screening project has really been there to be able to identify those at highest risk prior to having a sudden cardiac arrest with it. When you look at the list of causes of sudden cardiac arrest, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is the leading cause. 1 in 500 student athletes will have that gene and walk around with that. That causes a thickening of the heart that they may have no symptom from until they have sudden cardiac arrest with it. In the age of COVID that we've all experienced here in 2020, number 5 on that list is myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart muscle from typically a viral-related infection with that. When we look at the background, school sports histories and physicals have been required. The American Heart Association has published on how to perform those. Adding an EKG can improve the sensitivity of detecting cardiovascular disease significantly in comparison to just history and physical alone. When you look at national screening initiatives, why don't we all have screening programs at all of our schools across the country? So limitations of that has been the cost, the availability and manpower, the qualified interpreters, and the risk of false positives with that. But despite all of that, Brevard County has passed this and pushed this initiative forward and really been a trendsetter around the United States. Because EKGs are very good at picking up many forms of sudden cardiac arrest, such as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, other forms of cardiomyopathy, such as arrhythmogenic right ventricular dysplasia, Wolff-Parkinson-White, ion channelopathies, and long QT syndrome. That is so powerful that the European Society of Cardiology has adopted EKG screening. The Olympic Committee has adopted EKG screening, and over 60% of Division I schools do EKG screening for their student athletes with that. Last year in the state of Texas and Pennsylvania, both of those states passed mandatory laws requiring parents to be informed about the option of EKG screening prior to their students having participation in organized high school athletics. And in 2019, Brevard County required EKGs prior to all middle and high school students participating in, and really set the national standard for where the United States will hopefully go here in the next few years. And I just wanted to compliment everyone at who we play for making this possible. And unfortunately, Rafe had to have his demise in order to make this possible, but hopefully we don't have any other children like Rafe pass away, and that will protect all the students within the district. So we set out to look at how this was integrated in the first year of it. The school district partnered with community groups such as Who We Play For and other medical healthcare systems within the community to ensure that children had the opportunity to receive an EKG. They also had volunteers provide the EKGs so that they could be done at low cost, and had pediatric cardiologists available to interpret, and then appropriate communication back so that the final diagnosis was given to the family in a timely manner so that they could participate in sports and be cleared safely to move on with their athletic participation. So our methods are all there for you if you'd like to read through them. We also had standardized EKG interpretation as we read these EKGs as well. But our demographics, you can see the breakdown of students. The male-female ratio is 55 to 45%. The ethnic background of the students is listed there for you. The sports are also listed there for you of the athletes that we screened throughout this participation. I have the data and are sharing the data because Who We Play For has allowed us to study this data. Again, student athletes were also allowed to go to their primary care doctor and have EKGs outside of this 5,877 that are studied here with that. When you take the ones that were studied here, we have almost 6,000 EKGs performed. We had 199 abnormals, which is 3%. So if you're a parent in the room, if your child has an EKG done prior to sports participation, 97% of the time, it's going to be normal for you. Again, the 3% need follow-up to ensure that their hearts are safe prior to athletic participation with that. For the final diagnosis, it was self-reported back to who we play for. So one ability to enhance the project would be to be able to partner with the school district to capture 100% of that final diagnosis coming back in so that we can have full capture of that. Of the ones we have capture of, there was 8 children found with critical cardiovascular disease that had a risk of sudden cardiac arrest. So I compliment the board on saving those potential 8 students from having a significant cardiovascular issue within the school district. Of those that had an abnormal EKG, 6 underwent an ablation procedure to get rid of an extra pathway within the heart that can allow their heart to beat very fast. 1 had long QT syndrome, which is a genetic syndrome that can cause sudden cardiac arrest. And 1 had a cardiomyopathy, which is a thickening of the heart muscle with that. So again, we'd like to continue to move forward on the project with enhancing the long-term capture rate of the diagnoses, and would love to partner with you on that. And also standardizing our EKG interpretation to the international criteria can also move our abnormal rate below the 3% with that, and we continue to study that within this patient population. But I think the conclusions that were sent out to not only in the United States, but also around the world is that EKG screening programs are feasible in mass numbers with almost 6,000 EKGs performed here in Brevard County, and that they can be done with low cost and sufficient manpower and appropriate follow-up for all of your students within your district. I compliment everyone on the board for launching this program and for really being trendsetters across the United States. So thank you for your care and the compassion that you've given to the student body here in Brevard County.
Well, and we have to thank you because you made it largely possible as well with your contribution to making sure that those EKGs could be read and interpreted and followed up on. So you certainly have been an important partner on the team, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thanks for taking the time to join us tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. It's an honor and a privilege.
Thank you. Mr. Susan?
So I've been working with them with who we play for to bring this to other districts. Sean gave a great presentation to the School Board Association. We have about 6 or 7 school boards that were really positive about bringing it in. And everybody that we talk to, they say, yes, this is a great idea. How do we move forward? One of the problems that we've run into is that when we go to do that, the next step is okay, the school board says let's have a collaborative effort and let's talk about where some of the funding or the foundation work could come to help out and all those different things. So there's kind of a multi-step process. It's educating the school board members and the superintendent. They say go. Then we have to bring the hospital network on for that. So what I would like to do, if it's okay with you guys, is possibly ask the Florida School Board Association to host an informational session with you, because you know the information from the backside. Maybe do it over in the Moores, and we could invite maybe the Central Florida groups together first, if that would be appropriate to do.
Sure, we'd be honored to host it.
And then you host it, then you can go through it, and then talk from a statistic, because if Matt Susan shows up in Indian River, they look at me like, okay, this guy's great, he's a school board member, but he's not you. You're the hospital, you're the expert, and just like Misty Belford just said, it's you that got us there, because you reading these things are there. So if there's a possibility we could do that, I would be honored to do that.
Sure.
Awesome.
That'd be fantastic.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
Anyone else? Ms. Campbell?
I just wanted to echo the thanks to the Who We Play For team, but also to you, because you have let this go beyond just the reading the EKGs and presenting to us. I was here when you came to one of our parent leadership meetings, and you taught us all how to read an EKG. So just that.
And everyone did fantastic that night, just so you know.
I don't know if I can still do it, but that day I could. But thank you for continuing to reach out and do that education piece with us as well. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.